Hello, my name is Troy McKinney, and I will be presenting my editorial/rebuttal project. I will be presenting an article from the New York Times. It is going to be called "We Used to Care That Football Players Got Concussions" by J. Caspian King. He wrote this article because he was watching a football game and one of the players, Tyrod Matthew, was hit in the head and got a concussion. This led King to think about the previous years in the NFL where concussions were a very big deal along with CTE. The concussions were a rising problem and they became a very big deal within the NFL. The media was all over it, and the NFL did put some implications in, but nothing to really a drastic extent, just some extra safety protocols for the players to follow. Now, the tone of this piece is extremely serious. CTE is an extremely serious thing with some very serious repercussions that come along with it. Some of these are extremely difficult for the players to deal with. One of them we'll start off talking about is Aaron Hernandez. Aaron Hernandez was a tight end for the New England Patriots. He was a very good player. Throughout his entire career, he was only diagnosed with one concussion, and he eventually wound up being charged with the murder of two people and was put into prison. Once he was put into prison, his mental state really began to fall apart, and he actually wound up taking his own life. And once his brain was analyzed by specialists, it was acknowledged that he did have CTE in his brain, which definitely caused him to struggle mentally. Another player we're going to talk about today is not as recent, but that would be Vincent Jackson. He was a wide receiver for the Buccaneers and the Chargers when he played. He was actually found dead in his hotel room one day, and no one knew what the cause of death was. It actually took a little while for that to officially come out. But one big quote that King used in the article was that Dr. Ann McKee, one of the leading experts in CTE, examined Jackson's brain. And as I said before, Jackson has never been diagnosed with a concussion during his career. And they actually found that he had CTE. So, again, just the mental struggles of CTE can be tremendous to a player. The cause of death for Vincent Jackson was eventually ruled as natural. It came due to chronic alcohol usage, which, again, we can only assume was due to the fact that he was depressed from CTE. Another person we're going to talk about is my friend Mike. One of my good friends, Mike, got a serious concussion when we were in our sophomore year of high school, which was in 2016. Today, he actually still deals with repercussions from this concussion. He has extra time for him in school, and if he so much as hits his head on a doorway or just something hard in general, he could become really dizzy or he gets headaches for weeks, and it continuously affects his life. It's a very difficult thing to deal with. Now, when King was watching this game that caused him to write this article, he realized something, and he begins to write about it in his article where he says, "What followed was a version of a concussion ritual we see almost every Sunday. A player gets knocked out. The TV announcers say, 'Well, you hate to see it.' The player gets carted off or staggers off to the designated blue medical tent, and the sideline reporter tells the audience the player will not be returning to the action. All of this is done in a somber tone with the implicit understanding that the player will be back within a week or two." This goes to show that the reporters are very much used to concussions happening in the NFL, and they don't really seem to take it as seriously as they should. They kind of just talk about it like it's nothing, like it's just something that's supposed to happen and that it's part of the game. It's a very crazy thing to watch. Now, a lot of the fans do believe that head injuries are a problem in sports. In fact, in the article, King lists that 9 out of 10 fans believe that head injuries are a problem, and that's just within sports, not specifically football. Granted, football is definitely one of the biggest problems with head injuries. Now, the issue with that, with 9 out of 10 fans believing that head injuries are a problem, is that 91 out of 100 of the most watched games or the most watched telecasts of the last year were actually NFL games. So the fans, as much as they're saying that head injuries are a serious problem, continue to watch the game. And I myself am actually just as guilty as most of the fans of just watching the game like nothing's happening, where someone gets carted off with a head injury and no one really acknowledges it like it's a serious thing. It's kind of just like the next guy is going to come in and fill the spot, and if he doesn't have a concussion, he'll be back, and if he does, he'll be back in a couple weeks. Now, again, as I said before, the problem was arising in the NFL, and it actually kind of died down, and we're in that sort of die down phase at the moment still. But when something serious happens again, where an ex-NFL player kills somebody or they take their own life due to CTE, this is all going to come right back up and flare up again. And it basically just goes between head injuries are a super serious problem or we're just not really looking at it. And it's something the NFL needs to take very seriously. I do believe that he is right in writing this article in the fact that head injuries are a serious problem, and especially the fact that the people in the game, the announcers, the fans, all of them don't really seem to take it as seriously as they should. That will conclude my presentation today. Thank you for listening.